Hi folks, I'm going to have to sort of overdub this one, sort of do a voiceover on this video, I'm afraid, because I uploaded it the other day and I didn't realise I had the radio on in the background, and when I uploaded it, YouTube picked up on some of the songs and they give you these content strikes and copyright strikes. So anyway, what I'm making today are some bird feeders. Just a dead simple enclosed pot, using about 1.5 pounds of clay. As you can see, I've just centred it and I'm just going to be lifting it up into a slight cylinder, keeping them quite thick because, like I said, they are for bird feeders, so there's no finesse about them at all. So I'm just going to be lifting it up, like you can see, into a cylinder, and then because I want them to be quite narrow at the base, I'm just going to squeeze it at the bottom like so, and then just slightly belly it out, not quite as much as you want the finished thing to be, because once you start to collar it in and close it up, then it will get wider. So before I close it up, I'm just mopping out the water, and then it's just a matter of collaring it in quite severely, so it actually it closes the form of the pot in totally. It takes about 2 or 3 goes. Just slowly squeezing it up until you see that it's all closed up, and you lift with a piece of clay on the top, and with that I'm just going to form a little knob, which is what we tie the string round to hang the bird feeders up once they're finished. We actually sell these pots as onion, sorry, well, we call them onion pots just purely for the shape, but we actually sell them as salt pots as well, without the string on, obviously. They're just once fired in the glaze kiln, so they're high fired but they're not glazed. And then when you see when I do actually cut the hole out at the end, they are quite multifunctional. We'll get to that later on. It's quite difficult watching yourself on video and try to talk over it. So I think it looks like I've done another one, so I'll just repeat the process. Again, piece of clay about 1.5 pounds, maybe. Just depends how big you want to make the pot. So this is just the general size we make. So again, just centering it. And I'll just be making a cylinder as usual. So obviously there's no sound in this video because I've had to dub it out due to the radio being on in the background, which is a bit silly really, because there you go, rules is rules. So again, just lifting it up, still quite thick, obviously, because it's an outdoor pot, a garden pot, so no need to be fine about it. And again, squeezing in at the bottom to get it a little bit narrower. Then I'm just going to slightly belly the foam out, and then mop out the water and then close it in again. So the old sponge on a stick doing its job, and again just collaring it in. Maybe it takes 2 or 3 attempts just to get it completely enclosed, and then you're left with a lump of clay on the top, an excess piece, just to form the top of the knob with. So what we do with these, once they're finished, once I've thrown a batch of these during the day, I'll just leave them to dry out till they're sort of like everything is leather hard the next day, and then we get on to just simple trimming, no decoration whatsoever. And then I'll just show you the little tip I've got for cutting a hole in, which is a lot easier than the way we used to do it. So that's a couple of those made. There you go, a bit of a close-up. Right, tomorrow, as you can see, they've dried out a bit. So I'm just going to do a tiny little bit of trimming, just basically trimming the bottom off. Just making it a bit tidier at the bottom, and then just smoothing any rough bits out with my finger, sort of semi-burnishing it, but nothing too fancy. And because these have shrunk overnight and they're an airtight fit, I always just poke a little hole in with a needle just to release the air, and you'd be amazed how much air actually sprays out of there, and it makes it a bit easier than if you didn't do that when you actually cut the hole out, because sometimes it can deform it. So that's the reason why I poke the needle through into the inside, just to let the excess air pressure out so everything's equalised, and then we're good to go. So I've only done, just do a couple of these again, just poking a needle in, letting the air out. And this is the thing we use. It's just an old can, an up-baked bean can, cut at an angle, dip it in a bit of water just to get a bit of lubrication. Now I'm doing this back to front. That's not how I would do it normally. I would do it facing me, but I'm doing it sort of so you can see it, so it's not as perfect as it normally would be. So basically you just poke it in, turn it around, and it removes a lovely perfect circle of clay. But if you can see on the top right, there's a little bit of a rough bit there. That's because like I said, I couldn't see properly. So, and the next thing to do is basically just to get a sponge, a wet sponge, and just sponge any of the sharp edges off, because obviously if they're really sharp and you fire them, they end up like a razor blade. But simple as that really. Giving it a quick sponge off again just to smooth it off, and that's it. As you can see, that one's a little bit rough at the top, about 2 o'clock. And I'm just going to cut it off at the bottom, no faffing about turning the base because it's only a bird feeder. And I'll do another one, just show you how we do it again. So again, these were thrown yesterday, so they're just leather hard. I don't know what happened there. I'm doing it this way, the way I would normally do it now, so you won't be able to see it as well. But I'll get a neater hole. As you can see, no burrs on it this time. But again, just sponging it off, getting rid of any of the rough little bits around it, so it's nice and smooth once it's goes into the kiln. Just cut it off with a wire again. Simple as that. Like I said, we use these as salt pots as well, and garlic keepers. You can put some garlic in and it keeps them, you know, nice and dry, as well as the salt, because they're only once fired. And that's the finished batch of about 15. All done, they just need to be fired. And then what we do is, if we're leaving them as salt pots or garlic pots, just leave them like that. But if we're going to use them as bird feeders, we just tie a bit of string around the top, and that's it. So anyway, that's it.